Welcome to Never Again is Now, a podcast about anti-Semitism. I am Evelyn Marcus.
And I'm Phyllis Zimbler-Miller.
In the aftermath of October 7, we see a rapid rise of incidents against Jewish students on university campuses in the United States. In many cases, the university leadership is reluctant to stop this. As a result, many Jewish college students in America are feeling unsafe these days. Today, we have with us a guest who is on the front lines of legally responding to these incidents. Yael Lerman is the founding director of the Stand With Us Saidoff Legal Department. Her department provides free legal resources to anyone confronting anti-Semitic and anti-Israel activity. Yael coordinates a team of 4 staff attorneys and over 250 pro bono attorneys. Yael, welcome, and thank you so much for coming on our podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So, is your department at Stand With Us, the Saidoff Legal Department, busier than before October 7th?
Oh, what a question. I can say that I've been in this field nearly 20 years, doing civil rights law, hate crimes law, specifically fighting anti-Semitism. I have never seen anything like the tsunami we are experiencing in anti-Semitic intake. And it's a small community of lawyers doing this work professionally in the nonprofit space. Everyone that I talk to is saying that they've never seen anything like the tsunami. And none of us have overlapping cases. So it's when you then look at that in the aggregate, it's astounding. Just to give a sense of numbers, before October 7, in a given year, even a given year with a war with Hamas, like 2021, we would see approximately 270 requests for legal help that we would work on. It's about 5 cases a day, approximately. Since October 7, we are now at almost 4 weeks into the war, nearly 400 requests for legal help. So 270 in a given year before October 7, nearly 400 in the last 4 weeks. And every 10 minutes that I step away from my email, about 10 more come in. It's overwhelming, it's worrisome, and yet we are finding somehow to respond every time, mainly through lack of sleep.
Can you just give us a little explanation of how the legal department in Stand With Us works with other departments so people really understand the whole force that's working together with you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Stand With Us is a nonprofit, nonpartisan Israel education organization. We have just a dual mission: support Israel and fight anti-Semitism. All our work falls under that. And we do it through several different departments that really uniquely help fight anti-Semitism on every level. So I'm the legal department. I'm the legal response to fighting anti-Semitism. We have a campus department with a huge staff overseeing every single university in America to help students fight anti-Semitism and professors on those campuses. We have a K-12, middle school, high school team just for helping fight anti-Semitism and support Israel in that space. We have regional directors to help community members fight anti-Semitism and support Israel. We have research and strategy teams to do so, PR team. We do it all. And almost as importantly as all that is our Israel team. So we have a social media team that is really second to none, in my opinion, in this space. On Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, constantly pushing out information and education about Israel, particularly at times like this. And we have an Israel team in Israel itself educating Israelis on how to be ambassadors for Israel and talk about Israel. So on every legal matter that comes to me, I have the benefit of never having to turn anyone away like other legal groups often do. If someone comes, I never have to say to them, well, really, this doesn't rise to the level of a lawsuit, so therefore we can't help you. I can always hand them over to another department to be supported and be empowered.
That's great. That's great. Phyllis?
So can you give us some examples of what Jewish students are facing at the college level, the middle school, high school, and elementary right now since October 7th?
So it's bad. I think we all know that. I'm going to try to focus on what's not in the news because I think we all know what is in the news. I'll start with the K-12 space, so kindergarten through 12th grade. That space is a little different than college campuses. So in the K through 12 space, and again, this is the legal perspective, what we began to actually see a shift in this space after Kanye West a year ago, when he took to social media and started his anti-Semitic diatribes against the Jews. We saw a huge transformation in the K through 12 space of students feeling empowered to then be pretty anti-Semitic in terms of bullying, in terms of assaults, in terms of just discriminatory conduct towards Jewish students. Since October 7, that's only been exacerbated, but that really began about a year ago. Campus, on the other hand, is a totally different paradigm. Before October 7, I'd say the majority of all intake we received was about discrimination and harassment on campus by professors and by other students, and particularly by student groups like Students for Justice in Palestine. Since October 7, that has entirely shifted. And now we are receiving just as much intake with criminal threats, terroristic threats against students, bullying, but really severe bullying that rises almost to a criminal level. Yes, we still have the discrimination, we still have the harassment, we have the doxing. Everything, though, now has a slightly more violent undertone. And I find that very worrisome.
Right. Can you give us an example?
And I just also want to add, it's also community members. So we have K through 12, we have campus, but also community members are reaching out with receiving more threats and violence than I've ever seen before. And we are helping them as well. So what would be some examples? Last night, I had a student reach out that she is receiving direct messages on social media from a student on campus threatening to kill her. Fortunately, her college is taking it very seriously, but the threats were, "Hey, Jew, I'm coming for you," sort of stuff. We have Jewish professionals on campus receiving things like, "I'm coming to behead your babies." The stuff that we saw at Cornell a few weeks ago, remember, where the Jewish students had to be locked into the dining hall because Patrick Dye, a student there, started putting onto the social media that he was coming to kill and to hurt and to do all sorts of things. We're seeing that, but individual students are getting it through direct message to their social media accounts. There's a lot of that. And then there's a lot of physical assaults. Every single day, I'm getting at least 2 or 3 people letting me know that they've been physically assaulted and how should they handle and how should they respond.
Whoa. So they're actually where there are actually students who receive death threats on
Yes.
social media. Wow. Is that different from before October 7? Is it a different level?
Before October 7, again, I've been doing this almost 20 years. Before October 7, I never had one student send me a death threat that they received. The worst I ever saw was a student get a direct message on Instagram where they doxed her. They made public where she lives, and they transposed an image of Auschwitz onto her residence. And that was very threatening, very scary. But it wasn't an outright, "Jew, I'm coming to kill you. You have a choice. You can flee right now or you can die." That's the sort of stuff students are getting now.
Wow. Any idea who sends those messages?
So whenever something like that happens, we tell students, we tell community members, we tell anyone, immediately report to the police, report it to the FBI, report it as a bias incident. So it goes within the administrative channels, take it seriously. Menachem Begin has this great line, the former prime minister of Israel has this great line in which he said, when a Jew is threatened, take it seriously. So we tell people, take it seriously. And so far, it appears that whenever cybercrimes gets involved and figures out who it is, it's another student.
Whoa.
What does the law say about the incidents Jewish students are currently facing?
So fortunately, in America, we actually have a fantastic system in place. The issue is, are the campus police using the system as they should be? So we have all the laws in place so that Jews can be protected. We have Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, in which a university could lose its federal funding if they don't fix a pervasively hostile climate on campus against Jews. We have lawsuits we can file. In the K through 12 space, we can file grievances against school districts. We have campus police and an entire criminal justice infrastructure. Universities also have discrimination and complaint and harassment bias forms they can fill out, and we help students fill those out. We sit with them in the hearings. We prep them for it. There's so many different policies and legal systems that we can utilize. The issue is more enforcement. will universities choose to enforce their own rules? And since universities are self-contained legal ecosystems, when they don't choose to enforce them, really the only action we could take is appealing to the Department of Education. And the Department of Education is a bureaucracy. It is political. And so the response is going to be varied based on many different factors. But I assume you just heard the good news that Columbia University just decided to suspend Students for Justice in Palestine and Jewish Voices for Peace based on the hostile climate for Jews they were creating on campus. It is the first instance I've seen of a private university actually choosing to enforce its own rules and hold some of these groups accountable in the last few weeks. Besides Florida, of course, which has been doing a great job. So maybe there's hope. Maybe things are turning at some of these Ivy League schools that have allowed this to fester for too long.
Yeah. Do you know or have an idea about what motivated Columbia to finally enforce its own rules?
So I went to Columbia. I would like to think that it was because they decided to finally protect its Jewish students. I think that might be naive. We also have to remember that we shouldn't give them too much credit because the semester ends in about 3 weeks. So they have their big statement that we are suspending you for the rest of the fall semester. We're looking at about 3 weeks. So we'll have to see what happens in the spring semester. Maybe more than 3 weeks. It's about a month and a half. But what motivated Columbia? I wonder if it's the new anti-Semitism task force with some very big names that are on it. Putting pressure on the university. I think the fact that some very big donors to the university have recently announced that they're withdrawing their support, the public pressure, maybe fear of a Title VI action coming. Columbia has been a hotbed of very hostile climate for Jews this entire semester, so it's about time.
And it's good news. It's good news that
it is good news.
Yeah,
yes.
Very good. What kind of legal steps are possible after experiencing an anti-Semitic or anti-Israel incident on campus or K-12?
Okay. K through 12. So let's do that first. And fortunately, we're not really seeing it too much in kindergarten yet. It tends to be more middle school and high school, thank goodness. But bless you. If you are a parent and something happens to your child in that space, please report it. It's really important for data keeping records that we know these things are happening. Report to Stand With Us, to the ADL's database. It's important that this gets that the numbers are there. Plus, if it is actually a crime, make sure that the police know and investigate it as a hate crime. So if a student gets assaulted, for instance, one problem that we are seeing is that a lot of police, especially at universities, but also within the community, don't even know what anti-Semitism is. And so when a parent comes or a student comes and complains of an anti-Semitic attack, they'll say, well, that was politically motivated. That wasn't anti-Semitic, that they tried to tear your Israeli flag off of you, rip your Star of David necklace, and call you a dirty Jew. That was politically motivated because they were angry about Israel. And we as a community have a responsibility to educate the police and enforce hate crime laws that no, that is not politically motivated. That is an anti-Semitic hate crime and needs to be charged as such. So when parents, if God forbid this happens to your kid in the K through 12 context, please report it to the administration, educate the administration, help them identify and explain why it is anti-Semitic, what happened. And if you need help doing so, there's a lot of organizations, including Stand With Us, that are here to do it. We will walk with you into your school. We will write legal letters. We will sit with you in meetings. We will provide your child with the support of a Jewish community if they want to reach out and be with other teens or middle schoolers who are experiencing something like this. There's lots of options to be empowered. And if the administration doesn't want to take it seriously, well, then we have other options. Like we can file grievances against the school district. We can file a lawsuit against the school district. There's lots we can do to hold accountable haters, and administrators that want to deliberately ignore anti-Semitism. And I just want to mention that Stand With Us is in the process actually of either filing a lawsuit or grievance against several different school districts around the country on this issue. And then in terms of the campus space, the campus space is different. If you are the victim of discrimination, harassment, or violence, it's going to be a different process for each one. But either it's going to be reporting to the campus police, it's going to be filling out a bias report form, it's going to be filling out a discrimination or harassment complaint form, and then upping it from there. It's not a process that's easy to navigate. So please, if you are a student, reach out for help. We will help you walk through this entire process. We will help you keep your name confidential if you want to do so. We will help you get a no contact order if you feel you've been threatened by someone. We will help you every step of the way. So there's a lot to navigate, and we are happy to help anyone do it.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. You're doing that. Stand With Us is doing that. And I want to thank you all for that. Phyllis.
Yes, what I wanted to know is how about we have a couple of positive examples, by which I mean going through those steps where it changed something, where it actually made a difference. I'd love to have a little positive news.
Yes, of course. This can be a very heavy topic. You can just ask my kids at the dinner table. But so positive. Well, here, this could be a positive story that starts off bad and then becomes positive. You'll tell me at the end if it's a positive story. A student reported to us that she was in her dorm room when suddenly campus police show up. They say you have to leave the premises immediately. You're under investigation because you've been accused of Islamophobia. You've been accused of threatening Muslims on campus. This is a Jewish student. So she immediately packs up her bag. She says, who's accused me? What exactly have they accused me of? They won't tell her anything. She's moved to off-campus housing where she has no security. This is in the last 3 weeks. It's a difficult time as a Jew to be alone right now. Her parents, at considerable expense, fly up so that she's not alone to the city that she's in college. She immediately reaches out to Stand With Us, and we get her local litigation support right on the ground. The next, this happened right before the weekend. The next thing, first thing in the week, the litigator goes with the student to meet with the administration and to demand that this be handled with due process and to find out what's going on. And within days, we are able to make sure that she is no longer falsely accused. Her good name has been cleared. She is back in her housing. And it turns out that it was actually her Muslim roommate falsely accused her. And she's now the one who's been removed from the premises. So I think moral of the story is good news is she's back in her dorm room. And the other good news is that she had the good sense to reach out for legal help and not try to do this alone. And we find that nearly 100% of the time when students and community members reach out for that legal help, we can have a successful outcome. It's when they try to go at it alone that things get very complicated and difficult.
Yeah.
I would count that as a positive story. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Phyllis, you also
yeah, I can go ahead.
Phyllis, you also had a question about something that happened in Los Angeles in a charter school, right?
Yes. I don't know if Yael wants to talk about it because it's just kind of breaking news, but I'm very concerned because a charter school in the Valley called, what is it? Wait, I keep forgetting on purpose. Citizens of the World is the charter school, which is why I keep forgetting it. And now this is alleged, I suppose is the right word because it was reported in the news. The school shares, it rents space from a conservative synagogue, a REL, and 2 first-grade teachers taught in the last few days anti-Israel, pro-Palestinian, what we can only say is propaganda, and then bragged about it on social media. I mean, stuff I don't even want to repeat here because it was so sickening. And as I will repeat, the school's charter, and I'm using that word both as a charter school and charter, is to be inclusive of everyone. Let Yael, the lawyer, explain that one.
Right. Well, it's same as in the university setting where the diversity, equity, and inclusion offices are supposed to be the safe spaces for all students, yet somehow Jewish students never quite get included in that. So again, this is a breaking story as of this morning, so I can't really speak to what is happening right now, but what I can say is I think it's comparable to 2021. That was another war between Israel and Hamas. And LAUSD, a middle school in the same Los Angeles space, had anti-Israel materials and political indoctrination happening in the classroom through a quiz that was given to all the middle school students at this school. When it was leaked, there was outrage. The school apologized. They said, we'll never do this again. Usually the systems work when there's enough parent outrage and press exposure. What worries me is all the times it's not being reported. The instances we don't know about. And that I think in this one case, it will get addressed. It will probably be handled appropriately because we know about it.
Yes. although, and Yael knows about this from another interest of mine, I think that it's not just enough to take immediate action. I think then it's a challenge to the Jewish community to say, and now how do we go into those first grade classrooms and teach a more balanced and give them an explanation? Because otherwise, yeah, at the legal level, whatever, it's been taken care of, but those students still believe what they were told. And so this really worries me.
I couldn't agree more. We have at Stand With Us a Center for Combating Anti-Semitism, for instance, and say a high school department or middle school department. And in these sort of things, we will reach out to the school proactively and say, please let us come in, let us provide our materials, let us try to fix what happened here. And we will proactively go into schools that haven't yet had an incident and say, let us bring in programming. So I couldn't agree with you more that education is key. I'll leave it at that.
No, go ahead. Say more if you want.
It's okay.
Okay, Evelyn.
Yael, how do Jewish college students get in touch with your department to ask for legal help or advice?
So I would like to expand it that we also love our Zionist allies. Stand With Us is very fortunate that many colleagues who are not of the Jewish faith actually work at Stand With Us and help lead the fight against anti-Semitism. And many of our fellows and affiliated students are not Jewish. So we are so grateful for our Zionist allies and all that they do. And if they experience discrimination as a result of standing up for Israel, we are just as much here for them as anyone else. So anyone who wants help or resources on how to fight anti-Semitism, if it's legal, they can reach out to, just go to our hotline. We have a legal hotline at standwithus.com, and they click on that. And lately I've been getting at least 30 a day with requests for legal help. It comes directly to me. I will respond and help any person who comes in. And if it isn't a legal answer, I will make sure that it goes to the right department. So my personal goal is that no one ever walks away not feeling empowered and supported in whatever's the capacity we can help them. I know that there's a lot of groups right now offering legal help hotlines, and whatever group someone feels comfortable with, the most important thing is that no one feels alone, that they go and get the help that they want. I guess what I wanted to say for your prior question is that I think in the K-12 space, a lot of what we're seeing is values from the home, and a lot of kids coming in and teachers coming in saying awful things. From the teachers, sometimes it's just misinformation. They don't know what they're teaching, but a lot of times it's just their values. I would say often it's not values that necessarily came from America. That they're bringing with them into the school space, and we have an obligation as a community to educate and to counter some of the bad values in homes.
So what can our listeners do in the grassroots schedule? Can they go into schools and off? This is something that my colleague and I've been talking to Stand With Us about. Can they volunteer to go into schools and do programs? Because there cannot be enough volunteers. I mean, I suppose there could be enough, but how can people volunteer to help do this education process?
I think if every single person in their particular community was speaking out and using whatever platforms they have, if it's through their synagogue, if it's through their church, if it's through social media, if it's through their workplace, I can't tell you how many people come to me and they'll say, privately, I'm a Zionist. I believe in what you guys are saying, but I would never say it at work because I could lose my job, or it would harm my reputation. There's so many, I guess, closet Zionists or closet Jews right now. And what I hope is that maybe something that's come out of October 7 is that Jews now realize that even if they're closet Jews, they're still going to be impacted. And it's time to speak up and be strong and be proud and to educate everyone around them as to what is anti-Semitism and why it matters that we fight it.
Very beautifully said. And I wish everyone could follow that advice. And do you have any last thoughts that you'd like to add?
Yes, I want to add one last thought. I was on the phone last night, so about 11 o'clock, with someone who had been invited to speak on a university campus, and the Jewish students decided to disinvite the speaker because they were scared. They were scared about security if the speaker should come. They were scared about being bullied by Students for Justice in Palestine. They were scared about getting doxxed, that their pictures would be taken, their personal information uploaded online. They were scared. I understand that. It is scary to be a college student right now. And I would never not validate that emotion for them. However, for those students, Jews and Zionist allies who don't want to be scared, I implore them to stand up to the bullies, because it never works to cower. It really doesn't, not in the long-term game. And I have a lot of students I'm working with right now who did have the courage to fight back by filing, let's say, a discrimination complaint after they were discriminated against on campus by another student. And those students did get doxxed, and they have been threatened, and they do require campus police in some cases to walk to and from class. It got very scary for them in the last few weeks. So I'm not going to say that it isn't a scary time right now, but for those students who want to stand up and be brave, there is an entire community behind them, and there are ways of fighting back. And I don't want them to give in to that fear. If we get through this moment as a community, it's going to be because we did stand up and use every legal tool at our disposal and brought those speakers to campus and educated people and brought in more campus police and demanded that we be treated equally, and that we didn't give in to the fear. So we're here to help anyone who wants to be part of that fight, and just to support in any way we can.
Thank you,
Well-
Yael. This has been such an enlightening episode, and we hope that people take your advice. And I take it the URL is standwithus.org. Is that correct?
Standwithus.com. That's right.
Okay, standwithus.com. You can see a lot of resources on their website. And we want to thank our listeners, and we hope they really listen this time to what they could do. And for those of you who want to know more about Evelyn and myself for our work, you can go to Never Again is now podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And as we say when we end every episode, we say, please speak up against anti-Semitism and all hate.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
Thank you.